Everything I had worked for as an engineer seemed worthless the moment I saw the weapon raised towards my child. I was living my parents' dream, and although not top of the class at university, I managed to struggle my way into a reasonable engineering company that provided for me and my family. Although I was on my way to achieving a good life, I became increasingly frustrated with my context. I felt overworked, undercompensated, and underappreciated. As I was scrolling aimlessly through social media on a Saturday night, I came across a post of one of my university colleagues who had ventured overseas a few years after graduation. I clicked through my colleague's many posts of him enjoying beaches, hiking through rugged terrain, rich green bushland, and look at me selfies of himself fine dining and relaxing in his own home. I couldn't help but feel slightly envious of what he had been able to do with the same engineering degree as me. What pressed me more was that even though I wasn't a top student in class at uni, he was probably considered around the bottom. I sent a message to him with congratulations on his move, and he told me that I should do the same and come over. I pretended I didn't want to and made excuses like, no, I'm already secure in what I have here, and my family is here, so it would be tough to leave. Although some of those things were true, I couldn't help feeling excitement inside at the idea of a new life overseas, but figured the likelihood of it happening was slim. Monday morning, through the dense traffic, I made my way to the office. As I walked from my car and ducked under the messy, low-hanging power lines and fiber optic cables, I prepared myself mentally for another busy week ahead. After a hectic day, it was now 8:12 p.m. and it seemed there weren't enough hours in the day to keep up with the workload. I received a call from my wife, and she needed to be picked up from the local shopping center where she'd been with our newborn son. Grudgingly, I turned off my computer, wondering how I would be able to deliver my project on time the next day. As I pulled into the entry to the shopping center where my wife and son were waiting to be picked up, and I signaled them to get in. My wife slowly got in the back seat of the car, cradling my son as I speedily hurtled the stroller in the boot of the car. I jumped in the driver's seat as my wife sat in the back, delicately putting the seatbelt on my son. Out of nowhere, two armed men stormed in the front and back passenger doors, ordering me to drive now. My heart raced as my worst nightmare was about to come true, and everything I had worked for as an engineer seemed worthless the moment I saw the weapon raised towards my child. After staring down the barrel for what felt like an eternity and driving around from ATM to ATM, they finally let us go. We lost some money, yes, but I was also so grateful that nothing had happened to my wife and son. That same night, I sat out in the living room of my home. I just couldn't sleep. I started to contemplate all the things I should have done to protect my family. Over and over again in my mind, I thought about what I should have done. I finally concluded there was nothing else I could have done without jeopardizing everyone's safety. Perhaps I should just leave it to the authorities for justice. But that thought left me as quickly as it entered because I knew their care factor was zero. It was at that moment, sitting in the dark living room of my home, looking out towards the hustle and bustle of the noisy city, I knew I had a serious decision to make. I asked myself if I was prepared to let something like this happen again to my family. Whether I was really satisfied, and if I was being appreciated and properly compensated for the efforts I was making. All answers, I concluded, were a resounding no. What mattered most in life was my loved ones and their future. The next morning, I woke up from my broken sleep with a new mission. I was going to stop at nothing to make it happen. I took up my friend's recommendation to go to Australia, as there was a need for skilled professionals. I'm happy to say that although it was a bumpy road to get here, and even stay here at one point, I know for certain it was worth the struggle. There's nothing quite like it, knowing I have changed the destiny of my family for generations to come. And Australia is now called home.